Welcome to the 9th episode of the Gilbo Girls Out of My Mind. And hey, I got it right this time. Whee!
Okay, we're into chapter 7, and Melody talks about when I sleep. When I sleep, I dream. And in my dreams, I can do anything. I get picked first on the playground for games. I can run so fast. I take gymnastics and I never fall off the balance beam. I know how to square dance and I'm good at it. I call my friends on the phone and we talk for hours. I whisper secrets and I sing. When I wake up in the morning, it's always sort of a letdown as reality hits me. I have to be fed and dressed so I can spend another long day in the happy face room at Spalding Street School. Along with the assortment of teachers we've had in room H5, there have been more classroom aides than I can count. These aides, usually one guy to help with the boys and one lady to help with the girls, do stuff like take us to the bathroom or change our diapers on kids like Ashley and Carl, feed us our lunch, wheel us where we need to go, wipe our mouths, and give us hugs. I don't think they get paid very much because they never stay very long, but they should get paid $1 million, and I agree 100%.
Me too.
What they do is really hard, and I don't think most folks get it. And you have to be a certain person to work with kids with special needs. You have to have such a big heart, and they just love our kids. It's just, they're like an extension of the family, really. It's even hard to keep good teachers for us. I guess I don't blame them for leaving, because like I said, we're a tough bunch to handle sometimes. But once in a while, we get a good one. And then she talks about the differences between some of her different teachers.
Oh, you should show her the one we read today. About the one.
Oh, yes, about Mrs. Billups.
Yeah.
So every morning, she played her favorite CD, which Melody hated. Old MacDonald Had a Farm, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, The Itsy Bitsy Spider, all those kinds of things. And let's see, and they're in 3rd grade now. Okay, so now children, this is an A. How many of you can say A? Good, she smiled, and say good, even if nobody in the class responded. I wonder if she would teach able-bodied 3rd graders the same way. Probably not, and my dog is trying to give me kisses, my baby. Okay.
Sorry, this kind of turned into a different teacher.
Yeah, so this is their 3rd grade teacher. Okay, so now let's move on to B. This is a letter B. Let's all say B. Good. Again, to silence. She didn't seem to care. So here she's sitting here teaching these kids in 3rd grade, which, you know, they learned all this how long ago? So the moral of this one is, let's say, they all kind of acted up and
This is what kind of makes me mad too.
So Maria, who was always in a good mood, she started to throw crayons. Willie began to babble, and I bellowed. I may not be able to make clear sounds, but I can make a lot of noise. I screamed because I hated stuff that was just plain stupid. I screeched because I couldn't talk and tell her to shut up. And that made me cry because
That's funny.
I know. And that made me cry because I've never been able to tell anybody what I was really thinking. So I screamed and yelled and shrieked, and I cried like a 2-year-old, and I wouldn't stop. Then my tornado explosion took over. I flailed and jerked and basically spazzed out, and I kicked so hard that my shoes popped out of the foot straps on my chair. That made me tilt to one side, and I screamed even louder. Mrs. Billups didn't know what to do. She tried to calm me down, but I didn't want to be calmed. Even the aides couldn't stop me. Jill and Maria started to cry. Even Ashley, dressed all in yellow that day, looked upset. Freddie spun his chair around in circles, glancing sideways at me fearfully. Carl hollered for lunch, and then he pooped in his pants again. The whole class was out of control, and I kept screeching.
Sorry, keep laughing about
The teacher called Mrs. Anthony, the principal, whose eyes got wide as she opened the door, and she took one look at the situation and said, "Call her mother." She couldn't have left more quickly. A moment later, the teacher had my mother on the phone. And Mrs. Brooks, this is Melody's teacher, Anastasia Billups. Can you come to the school right away? I knew my mother had to be worried. Was I sick, bleeding, dead? No, she's not ill. She's fine, we think, Mrs. Billups was saying in her most professional-sounding teacher voice. We just can't get her to stop screaming. She's got the whole class in an uproar. I could picture my mother on the other end of the line trying to figure out what was going on. Luckily, it was her day off. I knew she'd be there in a few minutes, so I gradually calmed down and finally shut up. The other kids quieted down as well, like somebody had clicked the off switch in. Okay, now we're at 5 minutes. All right, we got it. So,
we got this.
Yep. Old MacDonald continued to play. My mother arrived, faster than I thought possible. When I saw her in jeans and a dirty sweatshirt, I realized she dropped everything and jumped in the car. She ran over to me and asked what was wrong. I took a few deep struggling breaths, and then I pointed to the alphabet on my talking board and screeched some sounds of frustration. This is about the alphabet, my mother said. Yes, I pointed, and then pounded on the answer. She turned to Mrs. Billups. What were you working on before all this screaming started? Mrs. Billups replied in that superior tone that teachers dressed in nice red business suits use when they're talking to mothers with dirty shoes on. We were reviewing the alphabet, of course, the sound of the letter B, if I recall. I always start with the basics. These children need constant review because they don't retain information like the rest of us. My mother was getting the picture. So you were going over the ABCs? Correct. It's February. I beg your pardon? School started in August. You haven't gotten past the letter B in 6 months? Mom was bawling and unballing her fists. I've never seen my mother hit anything, but when I see her doing that, I always wonder if she might. Who are you to tell me how to run my class? The teacher asked angrily. And who are you to bore these children with mindless activities? My mother snapped back. How dare you? The teacher gasped. I dare anything for my daughter, Mom replied, her voice dangerous, and for the rest of these children. You don't understand, the teacher began. Mom interrupted. No, Mrs. Billups, it is you who does not understand. Mom looked like she was trying to calm herself down because she then said, Look, have you ever said to yourself, if they show that stupid commercial on TV one more time, I think I'll just scream? Mrs. Billups nodded slowly. Or, if I have to sit 5 more minutes in this traffic jam, I'll simply explode? Yes, I suppose, she admitted. Well, I think that's what happened to Melody. She said to herself, if I have to go over those letters one more time, I'll just scream. So she did. I really don't blame her, do you? Mrs. Billups looked up from my mother to me. I guess not. Now that you explained it that way, Mrs. Billups finally said, her voice now as calm as my mother's. Melody knows her alphabet, all the sounds of all the letters and hundreds of words on sight. She can add and subtract numbers in her head. We discussed all this in our past parent conference, didn't we? I could tell my mother was trying to control her temper. I thought you were exaggerating, the teacher said. Parents are not always realistic when it comes to those children. If you call them these children one more time, I might scream, my mother warned. But Melody does have mental and physical limitations, Mrs. Billups argued, trying to put Mom in her place, I guess. You have to learn to accept that. And the fire was back. Melody can't walk, Melody can't talk, but she is extremely intelligent, and you better learn to accept that, Mom spat out. The teacher backed up an inch or two. Didn't you read her records from last year, Mom demanded. Melody loves to listen to books on tape. I try to approach each child with an open mind and not be influenced by other teachers. All the records are in the box someplace. Maybe you should find that box, my mother said, her lips tight. Well, I never, Mrs. Billups countered. Maybe that's your problem, Mom replied with a grin. Then she tilted her head and turned toward the CD player. Oh, and one more thing. May I see that wonderful CD you're playing? Of course, Mrs. Billups said, smiling a little. The children love this. Do they? Mom asked. The teacher lifted the disc from the player. Twinkle, twinkle. Silence. Willie sighed out loud. Mom took the CD, dug down in her purse for a moment, gave Miss Billups a $5 bill, and deftly snapped the disc in half.
So she could buy a new disc if they would enjoy.
That music was cruel and an unusual punishment. Freddie and Maria cheered. Gloria whispered, "Thank you." For a moment, I almost felt sorry for Mrs. Billups. She looked so confused. She just didn't get it. Mom walked over to the sink in our room, turned on the warm water, and soaked a stack of paper towels under the faucet. She came back to me and gently wiped my face with a warm, soggy wad. Nothing had ever felt so soothing. She then brushed my hair, adjusted the straps and buckles on my chair, gave me a quick hug, and went home. Mrs. Billups quit her job after spring break, so we ended up with a series of subs till the end of the school year. I think she had figured out it would be easy to work with people who were dumber than she was. And she was wrong.
That's right, she was wrong.
Yes, she was. So we'll leave you with that and see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye. It doesn't want to turn off.